Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to NEWSROOM. I'm your host, Khalid. But today is the 20th of December. It's a Monday, the last 10 days of the year 2021. A lot of stories to discuss with you. Our first segment of the day, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the OIC Council of Foreign Ministers summit that was held yesterday. It was a whole day conference. Many countries took part in this very important conference, and there was a one-point agenda, and that was to talk about the future of Afghanistan, to have a broad-based but a single-point consensus as far as the future of Afghanistan is concerned, to help them out in the current economic and humanitarian crisis, rather, that they are, of course, embroiled in. At the same time, we had a lot of positive responses from the different countries that represent the OIC, as well as the United Nations that was represented by Mark Griffiths. There was, of course, a pledge of 1 billion Saudi riyals as well by the Saudi foreign minister. At the same time, there was also the pledge by the Islamic Development Bank that they will put forward a certain framework as far as how to move around and move about for the disbursement of the aid and the money to the Afghan people. This is going to be our first segment, ladies and gentlemen. Our second segment, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the Iranian foreign minister, Amir Abdullah, who called on the chief of the army staff, General Qamar Javed Bajwa. And of course, issues of mutual concern were discussed. At the same time, he also met with our Prime Minister Imran Khan Saab, and of course issues of mutual concern were discussed with our Prime Minister as well, and he also addressed this extraordinary summit of the Council of Foreign Ministers. This is going to be our second story. Then we'll talk about the typhoon that has hit the Philippines, which is the strongest typhoon to have hit this year, surpassing 200 on Monday. This is the death toll that has surpassed 200. This happened on Monday, and of course the survivors are asking for supplies, are asking for shelter, are asking for food. Then we'll talk about archaeologists who have discovered the most ancient Buddhist Temple of Pakistan in the Bazira area of Barakot Tehsil in Swat. This is a very important discovery as far as archaeology is concerned, and this was a joint discovery by the Pakistanis and the Italian archaeologists. Then we'll talk about the United Nations General Assembly, which on Friday, ladies and gentlemen, adopted with consensus a Pakistan-sponsored resolution which was entitled Universal Realization of the Right of the Peoples to Self-Determination, which of course supports the right to self-determination of people under subjugation, and that includes Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. A right step in the right direction for the people, the oppressed people of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Let's begin with our first segment, ladies and gentlemen, and that concerns the OIC extraordinary summit of the Council of Foreign Ministers that was held yesterday in Islamabad, hosted by Pakistan, convened by Saudi Arabia. A lot of pledges were made, a lot of important decisions taken. More in the following report.
Marking a stunning diplomatic offensive, Pakistan rallied OIC countries and other significant global actors to help Afghanistan stave off simmering humanitarian disaster. The 17th Extraordinary OIC Session of Foreign Ministers was convened to explore ways to assist Afghanistan while navigating the difficult political realities of war-ravaged country. In this biggest conference on Afghanistan after US withdrawal, envoys from 57 Islamic nations as well as observer delegations participated in special session. In order to dilute horrendous global impacts of Afghanistan crisis, OIC nations have pledged to set up humanitarian trust fund and food security program, which will be managed by Islamic Development Bank in collaboration with other actors. Premier Imran Khan in his keynote address issued a clear warning to international community by noting that Afghanistan could potentially become the biggest man-made crisis in the world if it did not act now. Underscoring alarming situation of Western neighbor, Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi warned that fallout from the deepening of the crisis could mean mass hunger and a flood of refugees. Foreign Minister also proposed a 6-point framework for OIC to address Afghanistan's humanitarian crisis, food security, and economic revival, besides its institutional capacity building to counter the threat of terrorism. Further lending credence to Pakistan's stance, UN Under-Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs Martin Griffiths pressed the world that now is the time to save Afghanistan from a total collapse. The 31-point OIC resolution released after the mood underscored resolve of participant countries to work with the United Nations in unlocking hundreds of millions of dollars in frozen Afghan assets. The emergence of Pakistan as epicenter of diplomatic activities regarding Afghanistan is manifestation of Pakistan's enduring commitment to Afghan people, and mobilizing the Ummah at OIC platform sent a powerful message in international corridors of powers.
To discuss more on this very important summit that was held in Pakistan in Islamabad yesterday, we've been joined by Hussain Sohrawardy. He's a foreign affairs analyst. Hussain Saab, thank you very much to have joined us. How do you see all the pledges and all the decisions that were taken at the end of this extraordinary summit? Were they important enough? Were they strong enough to help the people of Afghanistan?
This has been taking place since 15th of August that Pakistan is contesting the case of Afghanistan. Poverty is extreme at its extreme, and then humanitarian crises that are knocking at the door, besides turning away of many powerful countries, including United States from Afghanistan, in fact reflected that there is some kind of a mega crisis taking place that is in the offing in Afghanistan. Pakistan was the country from the day one. It was raising the alarm, stating that there might be some kind of a collapse. So before it turns to an extreme point, why not to rescue it? We were left with when I say Pakistan, was left with no other option but to at least collect ideological countries, that is Muslim Ummah, and that is OIC Forum. So finally, this meeting was convened in Islamabad. I believe that this is the mega step that Pakistan could have taken for rescuing Afghanistan from the shambles of what mess had been created by countries like United States in our neighborhood. I think that Muslim countries, they have taken it very positively. They have responded to Pakistan's call. They have understood the sensitivity of the situation. And I believe that somehow, some way, this thing will result very positive for Afghanistan, because Afghanistan needs support, at least from the Muslim world, if not at large, as far as the entire world is concerned.
Now, the OIC, Hussain Saab, has, of course, taken a lot of decisions that include the Humanitarian Trust Fund for Afghanistan. Saudi Arabia, the Foreign Minister of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, also pledged 1 billion Saudi riyals for the Afghan people at the time. There will be, inshallah, more pledges that will come later. If Islamic countries were on the same page as far as helping the people of Afghanistan is concerned, but at the same time, Hussain Saab, there was also representation from the United States, from the European Union, from other countries such as Japan as well, the United Nations as well, where Mark Griffiths also, of course, addressed this August ceremony. Do you feel there is a change in the stance as far as Afghanistan is concerned from the West?
I think that you have two questions. The first thing is a response. I believe that once these foreign ministers will go back to their respective countries and attend cabinet meeting as well as meeting with their kings, princesses, prime ministers, presidents, it will be more supportive then, because then the entire country will be taken on board, and then they would be contributing to the reconstruction and support of Afghanistan. Now, as far as the European Union and American change of stance is concerned, of course, everybody now realizes that what Pakistan was stating single-handedly regarding rescuing of Afghan people, apolitical, and supporting them because there might be some kind of humanitarian crisis. I think that now they have taken it very seriously, and that is one of the big reasons that with such a huge number of Muslim countries, all of them were on board as well in yesterday's meeting, and they are asking for support. However, Muslim countries, OIC, they would be, I believe, more supportive as compared to European Union and in particular as compared to United States, because somehow they feel that the one who has come in government, that is the Taliban regime in Kabul, that was not how they forecast Afghanistan would be. However, good thing is that they are also supporting now the regime in Kabul, and they are supporting the people of Afghanistan.
But Hussain Saab, in all of this scenario, do you feel that the aid will reach earlier than expected before it is too late as far as the plight of the people of Afghanistan is concerned?
Very good question. I must say that it is already late. And because since 15th of August, things are going from bad to worse in Afghanistan. It is a humanitarian crisis. It is not only popping up, but it has already arrived. This will go now from worse to worse. So, yeah, what you said, I fear if Muslim world delayed more, yeah, we would be entering into then a crisis, which means humanitarian crisis. We have nothing to do at the moment with who is governing Afghanistan, who is in government in Kabul, who are the governors. At the moment, what we are concerned more about is the plight of the people of Afghanistan. That must be kept in view because poverty is at its extreme. On the other hand, assets of Afghanistan government have been also frozen. So I think it is like burning candle from the both ends, and this would be quite crunchy time. I think pledges are good, but they must reach in time so that things may not go from bad to worse.
Thank you very much, Hussain Shahi Sohrawardi Saab, Foreign Affairs Analyst, to have joined us and to have talked to us about this very important summit that was held yesterday. Let's move to our second guest, and he is none other but Hassan Khan, a Foreign Affairs expert. Hassan Saab, pleasure to have you for this very important segment. Hassan Saab, first of all, this extraordinary summit of the Council of Foreign Ministers, would you consider it a diplomatic success for Pakistan?
I think definitely by our standard, this were more than, I think, almost 300 to 400 foreign delegates gathered in Islamabad. During, the COVID period where the whole world, and I think is too much conscious about this lethal disease. And, I think all the arrangements were done by the Pakistani government in a very short time. So I think everybody was appreciating the way the moot was conducted. Everybody was appreciating about all the arrangements. And, nobody was left out. It was not only the OIC. I think it was almost a mini United Nations. All the international bodies represented in the United Nations were in Islamabad. European Union was here. The Gulf Cooperation Council was here. The Arab League was here. Even the developed countries like Japan, Australia, Italy, France, Germany, etc., they sent their representative to Islamabad. So I think, by all standards, it was a big success. Those who were expecting to isolate Pakistan and blame Pakistan for all the ills befallen on Afghan. So I think that they have been proven totally wrong. Pakistan not only gave its shoulder to the Afghan at a time when Afghans are definitely entirely in need of an international assistance. So, after the withdrawal of the international forces, Afghans were once again abandoned by the international community. And, it was only Pakistan which offered its services.
You talked about the abandonment of the Afghan people post the 15th of August. Do you feel there is a change in heart from especially the Western countries, the United States of America, the European Union, as far as coming back to help Afghanistan is concerned?
I think repeat.
All right, I was saying, Hassan Saab, do you feel, you talked about the abandonment of the Afghan people, do you feel that there's a change of heart as far as that is concerned, especially from the countries of the West, the US and the European Union?
I think, look, during the last 4 months, everybody was, I think, there were apprehensions that Afghanistan has been once again abandoned by the international community. One, nobody was trying to get engaged with the Taliban representative diplomatically. Two, and I think the most lethal part of this disengagement was the Afghan people who were being sandwiched between the politics of the Afghan Taliban and the international community. But what happened in Islamabad when the OIC and all the international delegates were here. Even the Taliban foreign minister, what we call the interim foreign minister, Mir Khan Muttaqi, was also part of the participant. So in the sideline, he not only represented the Taliban and the Afghan government, he interacted with their worst rival, like the U.S. Special Representative like the permanent members of the Security Council. So I think Afghans no more will feel that they are being they are abandoned by the international community. So I think too much has been done, especially in Islamabad, not only in the main conference but in the sidelines. So I believe that all the what you call it, all the credit goes to the government of Pakistan, to the state of Pakistan, who instead of leaving Afghan at their own fate, they proactively, I think, played the case of Afghan at the international forum. Now you see that not only the Afghan, the world is more aware, the world is more educated about what is going on inside Afghanistan and what is the state of affairs of 40 million people, 40 million Afghans. But they are also getting engaged with the Taliban for the first time. The P5, they are getting engaged. The OIC members, the other developed countries, they are engaging with the Taliban. So I think this is a double sort of, advantage for Afghanistan. Not
All
only
right,
the
Hassan
Afghan
Saab, I'd like to ask a very pertinent question concerning the current government in Afghanistan. Amir Khan Muttaqi Saab, who is the interim foreign minister of Afghanistan, was there at the OIC summit. So was a small delegation that accompanied him. Do you feel that there could be some kind of a way forward as far as acceptance of this current Afghan government is concerned?
I think that is the major question. I don't think so that the world has any appetite, as the Pakistani Foreign Minister Shahid Qureshi has also pointed out, that even Pakistan doesn't have any appetite to recognize the Taliban government at the moment. But the world is more concerned about the plight of Afghan people, the poverty, the economic issues, the health issues, the diseases, and I think especially it's the economic problems which the Afghans are facing. But one thing is pretty sure, and that is no doubt, Afghan Talibans are not being recognized by the West and even by the regional countries, but at least short of recognition, there is an engagement with the Taliban representative internationally. As I said, the U.S. Special Representative Tom West, Amir Khan Muttaqi has a very long meeting discussion with him. He also met with the other foreign ministers of the OIC. He also called on the Australian Special Representative, the Japanese Special Representative. So he interacted, he rubbed shoulders with all those from whom he was expecting a recognition. So I think short of recognition, the Islamabad conference, especially of OIC and others, I think it gives an opportunity to Afghan Taliban to get engaged with the world.
Hassan Saab, the 1 billion Saudi riyals that have been pledged by Saudi Arabia, the Islamic Humanitarian Fund that has been sent by the Islamic Development Bank, is this enough, or do you feel if it's enough, do you feel it will come to the Afghan people sooner than expected, or will it take its time?
I think, Khalid, most important thing is, as Prime Minister Imran, when he was speaking to the conference, he was stressing on not only on the plight of Afghan people, but on the immediate assistance. And he repeated the word immediate. That I mean it. Immediate mean immediate. So that is what I say. At the moment, Afghan people need immediate international humanitarian assistance. So this 1 billion riyal, I don't think so there is enough amount because the 40 million people for the last 4 months, the Afghan government is unable to pay salaries to the government people, to the teachers, to the doctors. There is a huge brain drain going on. Economically, I know no activities so far in Afghanistan. Banks are totally, if not collapsed, they are closed. They are not, and that's what Pakistan is stressing, that at least we should make the Afghan banks functional. So I think at the moment, immediate assistance is needed. Not the pledges, already the international community has 2 months before they pledged $1 billion. So I think the immediate thing is that Afghan need food, medicine, clothes, that immediately needed to be sent to Afghanistan. So I don't think so that 1 billion, but I'm pretty sure that the Islamic Development Bank which has opened Afghan humanitarian trust. So that trust, now the other countries will definitely contribute to it. Pakistan is, I don't think Pakistan is a poor country, and our own condition. But despite that, Pakistan has offered 5 billion rupees to help the Afghan people. So I'm definitely sure that the Muslim countries, especially like the UAE, like Turkey, Malaysia, Indonesia, etc., who are comparatively in Arab wealthy countries, were comparatively better than Pakistan. So I'm sure they will follow the Saudi footsteps, and they will offer and they will contribute to this Afghan Trust for the Islamic Development Bank.
And finally, Hassan Saab, do you feel that this extraordinary summit has laid the ground for a further strengthening of this organization that we call the OIC? A lot of question marks had been raised in the past as far as the OIC was concerned. But do you feel that now this OIC is entering a new phase of collective decision making?
I think this is a very pertinent question. Even when the OIC meeting was going on, this Council for Foreign Minister meeting was going on in Islamabad. So in Islamabad, there were discussion in the drawing rooms and in various circles that OIC took this organization, keeping in view its past. But Khalid, the reason that OIC was not that assertive, for due to the internal differences between the Muslim states, between the Arab states, etc. But this Islamabad conference, no doubt it was an extraordinary event by all standards. No doubt it was an extraordinary, by the way, due to attendance, due to the participation of the other organization. But I think for the first time, the joint resolution, which was issued at the final, at the end of the conference, I think that adequately spelled out what OIC mean to do in Afghanistan. So I'm sure that the way the Prime Minister Imran, he spoke extempore to the conference, and he also stresses another issue that, like, he mentioned the Kashmir problem, he mentioned the Palestinian problem, and he referred to the Islamophobia internationally. So I think this conference will definitely, it will lay a new foundation. If I say this is the new beginning for me of the OIC, in the new world order, in the emerging, now it is no more a unipolar world, the emerging multipolar world. I think OIC is now going to be, it is going to have a different shape, I think, shortly. I'm pretty sure of it.
Thank you very much, Hassan Khan Saab, Afghan Affairs expert, joining us and talking to us about the extraordinary summit of the Council of Foreign Ministers of the OIC that got together yesterday, plus the representatives from the P5 countries and the United Nations and the European Union, that talked about the importance of getting the aid to the Afghan people at the earliest before it's way too late. Already it's winter, it's -3 and even lower in parts of Afghanistan. So it is pertinent that this aid, this food, this shelter, this water reaches the Afghan people at the very earliest. And that was why Pakistan hosted this extraordinary conference that was convened by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and a lot of positive aspects have been decided during the course of this one-day conference, and we hope to see that positivity escalate and of course translate in form of tangible action. Let's go to our second segment, ladies and gentlemen, and that concerns a continuation rather of this OIC conference. The Foreign Minister of Iran, Hussein Amir Abdullah, was also here in Islamabad. He called on Chief of the Army Staff, Qamar Javed Bajwa. He called on our Prime Minister, Imran Khan, and he also addressed this conference. More in the following report.
Pakistan has always accorded primacy to its cooperative bilateral relationship with neighborly countries in line with its vision for peaceful coexistence. As a brotherly neighbor with shared history, culture and religion, Pakistan has remained engaged with Iran to jointly counter an emerging crisis. In order to discuss evolving geostrategic environment and other areas of bilateral interest, Iranian Foreign Minister Hussein Amir Abdullahian called on Chief of Army Staff General Qamar Javed Bajwa. According to a statement issued by ISPR, the two sides discussed situation in Afghanistan, defense and security cooperation, Cooperation and Pakistan-Iran Border Security Mechanism. Chief of Army Staff General Qamar Bajwa noted the defense collaboration between the two countries has been strengthening over the years. The Chief of Army Staff also discussed highlights of extraordinary OIC mood on Afghanistan to avert humanitarian meltdown of country with potential massive spillover effects for the region. The Iranian Foreign Minister acknowledged Pakistan's contributions towards regional peace and the important role that Pakistan is playing for regional stability. Earlier, during a meeting between Pakistan's Interior Minister Sheikh Rashid Ahmad and Iranian parliamentary delegation led by MP Ahmad Amirabadi Farhani, Pakistan and Iran agreed for collective efforts in forming a strong government in Afghanistan. The stronger Pak-Iran bilateral ties will impart meaning momentum to shared goals and would pave way to jointly counter novel threats in fluctuating regional strategic calculus. Moreover, convergence of interest with regional actors is crucial at this point when Afghanistan stands at crossroads and to combat the common enemy terrorism.
Now, to talk more about the arrival and, of course, in Islamabad of the Foreign Minister of Iran, Mr. Hussein Amir Abdullahian, we've been joined by Qamar Cheema Saab. He's a foreign affairs expert. Qamar Saab, thank you very much to have joined us. Qamar Saab, amongst all the important countries that came to Pakistan and whose foreign ministers were here, there was the Foreign Minister of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, but there was also the Foreign Minister of Iran here. He met with our Chief of the Army Staff, he met with our Prime Minister, and also he addressed this very important conference of the OIC. How important do you feel is Iran's role, A, in the OIC, and B, how do you feel that Iran-Pakistan relations have improved over the period of time?
Thank you very much, sir, for giving me this opportunity. I think as far as Organization of Islamic Cooperation is concerned, Iran has a very significant position there because it has its marked positions about Kashmir and about Palestine. And I think that there has come an unwavering support from Iran about the Indian-occupied Kashmir and about the Palestinian issue. So even if there have been some kind of changes in the Muslim world about the policies regarding Kashmir and Palestine, but the Iran stood with Pakistan in every time. And secondly, what you are talking about, that how far this the Pakistan-Iran relations and how the Iranian delegation came in Islamabad, how much this is of significance. This is, of course, of huge significance because like all other countries who have been playing the positive role, Iran has a more responsibility being the neighboring country of Afghanistan. And Pakistan and Iran have a shared responsibility because in the past, back in the 80s, 90s, we hosted millions of Afghan refugees. And we can still face that societal crisis. So what kind of pain Pakistan and Afghanistan can feel for the brothers and sisters of Afghanistan, no other country can feel. And I think as far as the defense cooperation and over the time, the relationship between both the countries have evolved. I think the Army General Bajwa has visited twice in Iran, and that has shown that how the relations between both the countries have got strengthened. Even the Prime Minister Imran Khan himself traveled along, and the Foreign Minister Qureshi has traveled. So we have given a lot of diplomatic and political investment in improving and updating our relations, even with the new government which has come in office in Tehran. So overall, relationship on the political and on the defense side, it has seen good development, and our position on the regional affairs.
In this whole geostrategic scenario that is changing by the day, sometimes by the week in this region, how important is that both these countries, that is Iran and Pakistan, sit together and carve out a future strategy as far as their bilateral relationship is concerned and also this region is concerned?
Well, I think as you mentioned that the situation is changing very fastly, particularly when it comes to Afghanistan, particularly when it comes to that, for example, how the Chinese are looking towards Pakistan and Iran, and how the Western powers have left Afghanistan. So obviously this huge vacuum is to be filled by obviously the Afghan people, but Pakistan and Iran can help together and assist our brothers and sisters so that they do not face an environment where they feel that they have been left by the international community and particularly the Muslim community. So this particular effort of the OIC to invite all the Muslim countries and to invite other Western powers to tell them and to sensitize them that how much this is necessary to take care of the Afghan society. And I think Prime Minister Imran Khan was absolutely right on this when he mentioned that the Americans may have a problem with the Taliban, but they need to disassociate themselves from the Afghan people. So I think Pakistan and Iran together have highlighted this, and the Iranian foreign minister's arrival in Islamabad and meeting with the top political and the military leadership has once again shown this, that both the countries have a same position and they believe in inclusive government in Afghanistan, and for this they have been assisting our Afghan government.
Now, Qamar Cheema, when the Foreign Minister of Iran also met with our Prime Minister Imran Khan, there was this need to increase cooperation, especially cross-border trade and the formation of border markets. How important is it also in this current day and age when, you know, economy is what turns any country around?
Well, but I think the most important thing is economy, and I think, unfortunately, Pakistan and Iran could not enhance our bilateral economic relations because of the sanctions on Iran. But obviously, Pakistan is really there to work with our Iranian brothers and sisters, and this cross-border challenges which both the countries are facing, and I think the confidence which has come with the General Bajwa's visit to Tehran twice, I think this confidence have helped both the countries to minimize any kind of adventurism which the non-state actors used to enjoy. Now the border is being manned properly, and the regular contact between both the countries have obviously increased. So over the period of time, this relationship at the top level, and recently, you know, the Iranian Chief of Army Staff was in Pakistan, and he met with the top military brass here in Pakistan. So this relationship is reaping some benefits, and obviously the people on both sides of the border in Iran and Pakistan, they have seen a marked improvement and they have seen peace, and all those non-state actors and the miscreants, they had to evacuate those positions and to move away.
All right, Qamar sir, finally, let's talk about the OIC conference, the special conference that was held yesterday of the OIC Council of Foreign Ministers. And in this Council of Foreign Ministers, the Iranian Foreign Minister submitted certain proposals for the people of Afghanistan. And it was, of course, a 4-point proposal. I mean, 4 proposals. He said that firstly, Muslim states should encourage the ruling establishment in Afghanistan and all parties to form an inclusive government. Secondly, people of Afghanistan are in dire need of humanitarian assistance. There should be a formation of a financial fund. Thirdly, necessary to release Afghan assets. And fourthly, the UN member states and the Secretary General could play a leading role in contributing to the formation of an inclusive government. How important are these 4 points? There was a lot of commonality as far as, you know, the points that were also raised by the Iranian side and the points that were raised by the other governments.
Well, Barsab, you are absolutely right. I think the fundamental important question for everyone yesterday was, because Pakistan didn't want to get any kind of a political mileage out of this conference. The only thing we wanted was a humanitarian assistance. That is why we kept this a focused conference. This conference, and the purpose was obviously to win over international community and to sensitize, particularly to the United Nations, to the United States, and to the Western powers, that how come the Afghan society, which was making its 75% budget getting from the Western world, how come they can have a stable political and economic environment without that the support, and particularly the money which is with the Americans and with the international financial institutions, that money needs to come. So I think the Iranians have come up with these wonderful proposals, and these proposals have already been shared with Pakistan, and I think the entire OIC conference and all the countries shared the same, that primarily it's a humanitarian support. The United Nations and the Americans need to be sensitive and to take care of the Afghan people, particularly the women and children, and obviously this inclusive, as far as this inclusiveness part is concerned, here comes the responsibility of the Afghan Taliban, that they have to develop this inclusive government, so that the promises which have been made with the international community,
Thank you very much, Qamar Cheema Saab, to have talked to us about, of course, Iran's role and Iran-Pakistan cooperation. The OIC is a very important platform for all of these countries that include Iran, that include the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and so many other important Muslim countries to get together and to decide a common future for countries that are in trouble. And this time it is Afghanistan. The people are in a certain plight. The people are under economic and humanitarian lockdown in a situation which needs to be helped by all countries concerned, whether it be the OIC or the West. Now that is why this important conference was held yesterday, and all the positive results that came out of it through the proposals that were given by all the important stakeholders that included the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Iran, Pakistan and others. All we hope is that this translates into tangible actions sooner than later. Let's come to our last few stories very quickly. The first comes from the Philippines, where a typhoon has, of course, hit the country, and it has resulted in the deaths of around 200 people in the Philippines. There's a complete carnage in the coastal areas where they say the storm has left homes, hospitals and schools ripped to shreds. We understand what a typhoon can do to any area. Now, at least 208 people have been killed. 52 are still missing after the storm carved a trail of destruction across the central and southern provinces late last week. Now, police have been mobilized, so have been the other services to help out the people in Philippines. Relief operations have also been accelerating, but of course there is a certain hampering of these activities because of the typhoon and the damage caused by communications and power lines. This is what is also causing issues reaching the people. Nevertheless, we all wish and we hope and we pray that most of these people will be saved by these activities. Nevertheless, these are consequences of such catastrophic disasters such as the typhoons. Then let's go to the Swat, where the oldest Buddhist temple has been discovered, of course, in the Bazira area of Barikot Tehsil in Swat. This site has been discovered by the Italians and the Pakistanis together. Now, the archaeologists of Foscari University, an Italian archaeological mission, in collaboration with the Provincial Department of Archaeology and Museums, made this very, very important discovery. The Italian ambassador to Pakistan, Andreas Ferreras, also said that he was very excited with this new discovery. According to Professor Luca M. Oliveri, who is the director of the Italian mission, he says it is possible to date the foundation of the Buddhist sacred structure to the Mauryan period, which is to the 3rd century BC before Christ, 300 years before Jesus Christ. Now, of course, this is a very important discovery, not only for Pakistan, but also for all the lovers of history from across the world. And we'll be getting more details and we'll be sharing it with you in our show. Then finally, we'll go to the United Nations and Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Now, a Pakistan-sponsored resolution that was entitled Universal Realization of the Rights of the People to Self-Determination has been adopted with consensus by the United Nations General Assembly in New York. This happened on Friday. The resolution was co-sponsored by 72 countries from all regions, and it supports, let's talk about this resolution. It supports the right to self-determination for all the people under subjugation, alien domination and foreign occupation that include the people of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Now, this is a very important step for the plight of the people of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. And we hope that this and all the other resolutions that are already in the United Nations as far as Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir are concerned will lead to some kind of a pressure or action, so that the people who are subjugated to such torture and pressure can come out of it and get the right to self-determination, decide what they want to do with this region. With that, we come to an end of today's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow. Allah Hafiz, take care, see you.